Hi everyone, welcome back. I've been asked if I can make a video showing the watercolour equipment that I use, so let's get to it. Right, first of all, it's the palette that I use. This is the same one that I use in all my watercolour demos on YouTube. I've had this for about 25, 26 years, something like that. Showing my age now, aren't I? It's a Winsor & Newton heavyweight metal box. Originally it came with 12 hole pans. As you can see, I've added just a couple more. The colours I use, well, basically my mainstay palette are the 6 colours on the top and the 6 colours on the bottom. The colours that I use in this middle section here, I kind of swap them out and change them from time to time, whatever sort of takes my mood. So at the minute I've got Viridian and raw sienna and Chinese white, which I use just now and again for sort of glazing backgrounds and softening things off. But the main colours I use are lemon yellow, cadmium yellow, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, burnt umber, hooker's green light, because there's 2 hooker's greens, there's hooker's green light and hooker's green dark, and I use the light version. Cadmium red, crimson alizarin, cerulean blue, cobalt blue, French ultramarine and Payne's grey. And that's basically my landscape palette, what I use for pretty much all my paintings. Yep, so that's it. And some of the other palettes that I use are these sort of plastic trays. That one, I just kind of use that for sort of squeezing out tube colours and things like that. If I just need a bit of extra mixing space. Just as plain plastic, I think it's a butcher's tray or a food display tray or something like that. You can get them really cheap on eBay. So yeah, that's that. And this one, which is basically the same thing, it's just a smaller version. I already have colours squeezed out around the edge there, and I use that for when I'm using large brushes like Hake brushes or something like that. I find it a lot easier than trying to get one of those brushes on the pans, so that's basically the reason I use that. Also it sort of doubles up as just extra mixing area as well. Okay, onto the brushes. The main brushes that I use, which are my favourite brushes, are these. They're by Pro Art, and they're the Series 7 Pure Squirrel brushes. They're not the Sable. I know a lot of you out there prefer Sable brushes. I'm probably going to stand alone on this, but I actually prefer squirrel brushes and synthetic brushes. Not only because of the price difference, I just like the way they handle. I've got a size 6, size 8 and a size 10 in those. And it's that size 6 brush that you see me using quite a lot actually in most of my paintings. So that's a set of 3 of those which I use. And I've also got a set of 3 other squirrel brushes, squirrel mop brushes, by the same company, Pro Art. I'm not too sure actually what sizes these are. A lot of the lettering has come off. I think that one, that's a size 6, that's a size 2. So I'm guessing that one's a size 0 or 00 or something like that. But they're great brushes for holding lots of water and doing large washes. They're also good for pencil and wash technique, the same as these ones that I just showed to you. Because they're so soft, they won't pull the graphite up when you're painting over it. So that's why I like these brushes. I've also got a few miscellaneous brushes here as well. That's a long flat brush, and that's a very nice flat brush. It's 3/4 inch Sable Mix. It's by Pro Art again. I'm not sure what series this one is. Like I say, the paint sort of rubs off the handle on these, which sort of gets annoying, but anyway, it's a very nice brush. and that's a very old long hair flat brush. I think it's by Daler-Rowney. I've had that quite a while. And these two brushes, now these are excellent brushes. They're a sable mix, and I got them from a place called Ken Bromley Art Supplies. They're in the north of England, and these are Ken Bromley's own brushes. Well, they're not his own personal brushes, they're his own make of brushes. He actually puts his name on these brushes. They're called Ken Bromley Value Sable. They're really excellent brushes, and they don't cost a lot of money either. They're probably not as good as the Series 7 Winsor & Newton, but I mean they're a fraction of the price. So this is what I used to use all the time until I went over to the squirrel brushes. That's a number 8, and that one there is a number 14, I believe. But I still use them occasionally. And what else have I got? A set of 3 flat brushes, 1 inch, 3/4 inch and a 1/2 inch. These are very old actually. These are by Daler before they became Daler-Rowney. That's how old these are. These are the old Dalon brushes. They're not quite as soft as these, and the hairs aren't quite so long either. As you can see there, they're both the same size brush, but this one's got longer hair. These are nice sort of chisel point brushes. I still use them a lot. You've probably seen me use this one in some of my demos. I like this brush. It's one of my favourite flat brushes actually. So yeah, I use those. And what else? Oh yeah, let's bring these in. The cheapos. Let's start with this one. I mean, that one's just a simple house painting brush, decorator's brush. You buy it from your DIY shop or hardware shop. The sort of thing that you buy, in a pack of 5 for, I don't know, £1.50 or something ridiculous like that. They're actually awful brushes, but they're really good for doing effects in watercolour, for stippling and things like that. So I've included one of those in my kit because I do use it from time to time. That's a 1/2 inch brush, so that's that. And this one again is another cheap brush. I think I got 10 or 12 of these in a plastic wallet. Again, just for a couple of pounds, very cheap. The sort of brush that you'd find in sort of DIY shops or pound shops and things like that. Just really cheap, nasty bristle brush. But again, it's really nice for doing stippling effects and grass effects and things like that. I do use that quite a bit actually, so yeah, there we go. And while we're talking about effects with brushes, I bought a set of these a while back. They're by a company called Artmaster. There was actually 6 brushes in the set. There used to be like a flat squirrel brush in there, but that kind of disintegrated. It was rubbish, to be honest, but so I got rid of that. But these brushes are excellent, particularly this one, which is the foliage stippler. It's a bristle brush, and it's been purposely made so that the bristles are kind of splayed out on the end, and it gives a really lovely consistent pattern, no matter if you absolutely soak it with water or if you use it dry. You get a nice effect either way, which is different to these standard bristle brushes. You have to really use these sort of dry to get the right effect. If you actually soak that with water, it'll just all sort of run out the end and cause a puddle on the paper. But that one doesn't seem to do it. It's a very good brush. It also came with a standard size 10 round brush. It's just a synthetic brush, but it's very nice to use. A sword liner. That's a nice brush as well. fan brush, you all know about these. Nice brush for doing certain effects. And this one, what's this one called? The grass comber. I've used it, when you wet it, the bristles sort of splay open a little bit. I don't actually like it. The pattern it gives is too regimented and unnatural looking, so I don't tend to use that one too much. But the others are pretty good. And these are a cheap set of brushes that I used to use. This is the second set of them I've actually bought. You probably know about these. They're the Pro Art Polar White nylon brushes. Excuse me. You buy them in a plastic wallet, you get 5 in there. 4 round brushes, 1 flat brush, a 3/8 flat brush. They're very nice brushes to use actually. I enjoy using them, but the problem with them is that, I don't know if you can see, the paint sort of cracks and flakes off. And like I say, this is the second set of them I've had, and I had the same problem with the first set. The bristles don't last that long, you sort of lose the point with them fairly quick, but I tend to hang on to them and use them for things like masking fluid and just for scrubbing paint off of areas where I want to highlight them and things like that. So yeah, I use those, just very cheap brushes. And I've also got a set of Derwent water brushes. You probably all know what these are, but they've got a reservoir at the back there which contains water, and it kind of drips through on the bristles there and gives you a constant stream of water as you're painting. They come in 3 flavours, little flat brush, a little detailed brush, if you can make that out, where are we? Little detailed brush there, and a larger round brush, and of course the flat brush there. What I use these for mainly is for graphiting pencils or water soluble graphite, watercolour pencils, anything like that. I find these actually work better than a standard brush, but that's just my choice. You might like just using a standard brush, but I know a lot of you like using these for sort of lightweight sort of travel sketching. You know, you use those little Altoid tins with a few colours in and take one of these with you and off you go, which is super lightweight and a great idea actually. So yeah, you know, useful brushes. Now to my Hake brushes. Yeah, there's a bit of a story behind these. A while ago, a few years ago actually, about 3 or 4 years ago, I bought these. I was watching Dave Usher and Stephen Cronin painting with a Hake brush, and I thought I'd give it a try. I did have a go at it sort of 20 years ago. There's my original Hake brush. It's absolutely chewed up to pieces. It's no good now for watercolour painting at all. I just use it for my pencil drawings, for dusting them off. I've used it for wood staining and varnishing and things like that. I'm virtually ruined it, so it's no good for watercolour painting. But after watching some of the paintings that Dave Usher was doing and Stephen Cronin, I was really impressed. I really enjoy watching both of them. I decided to buy some Hake brushes again and give it another go. So I bought a medium size and a small size. I can remember 20 years ago I didn't like the large Hake brush then, so I didn't bother buying another one. I just thought I'll go for the medium and the small. And when they came, unfortunately the small size brush, the hairs on the outer edge kept sort of splitting open like that. I don't know if that's picking up in the camera. And it didn't matter whether the brush was wet or dry. If I absolutely saturated it and pointed it up, every time I painted with it, I got 3 lines, like tram lines. The brush just used to split open, so it was absolutely useless. So I ordered another one, Sorry about that little interruption there. Right, where was I? Yeah, and this brush used to split open all the time, so I bought another one and it was absolutely perfect. So I ended up with two nice Hake brushes which work really well. But I was reluctant to throw this one away, so what I thought I'd do is cut the bristles off, the offending bristles that were sticking out on the edge there. I cut them right off at the base of the brush, both sides, and now it's perfect. It doesn't, there's no splitting or anything, and it's actually my favourite Hake brush. And you can't actually buy them this small. That's the smallest you can buy. So I've got one that's even smaller than the standard ones, which is useful for me because I kind of work on small A4 size paper anyway, so that works out really well. Yeah, okay, so that's the Hake brushes over and done with. And I've got some little detail brushes here. There's, let's get these in order. There's a size 1, a size 2 and a size 3 rigger brush or liner brush, whatever you prefer to call them. I use those for detail work and tree branches and things like that. And then there's just a little number 2 sable brush, Winsor & Newton sable brush there, which I use for, you know, just general detail work. And the paints that I use are, bring them in. The Cotman range generally is what I use. Let's bring my palette box in again. There are colours in here which are artist quality. That's artist quality. Those two are artist quality. That one's artist quality. So there's a few in there. So I'm sort of mixing them up. I don't know if that's the right thing or the wrong thing to do. I mean, should you mix artist quality with student quality paints? I don't know. Is it the wrong thing to do? I don't know. I don't care, to be honest with you. But I do it, so it doesn't bother me. I mean, it's probably a case of two things. Is it a case of adding artist quality paint to your student paints is going to enhance the student paints, or is it going to be vice versa? Is it a case of your student quality paints are going to sort of dull off the nice effect of the artist quality? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, leave me a comment. Do you do that? Do you mix your artist quality with your student quality, or do you try and keep them separate? I mean, it'd be nice to know reasons why I should or shouldn't do that. But I've been working like that for years, because basically I buy these cheap Cotman tubes from eBay. They're under £3 each, for 21mm tubes, and I just sort of refill the pans as they get empty. But I've also got some, let me bring these in as well, I've also got some artist quality pans and tubes in there. What's in this one? Oh, that's, yeah, I've just got some Cotman whole pans in there. So I've got a bit of a stash. Well, that's an artist quality as well. I've got a bit of a sort of a stash of paints, you know, some artist quality and student quality. So I just kind of use whatever I've got, really. Yeah, and I don't worry about it too much. I can't think of any good reason why you shouldn't mix them together, really. But generally, I kind of, these days, I kind of just stick to buying these, because I find that the cheaper quality paint, particularly the Cotman range, is brilliant, to be honest with you. I can't fault it. It works brilliantly. And you tend to work freer when you're not getting so precious about you know, using expensive artist quality materials and things like that. You can tend to get a little bit precious and a little bit finicky with things like that. So with these, you can just squeeze a great big dollop out and just have fun. Just splash paint around and enjoy yourself, and you're not got to worry about the cost of it. And I sort of like to paint like that, really. So, well, I don't sort of splash paint around, but I don't like to sort of you know, waste a lot of paint and things like that, because, to be honest with you, you know, you see my videos on YouTube and you think, oh, that's nice, but you don't see all the failures that I have. And believe me, I have more failures than I do successes with watercolour. So there's nothing more frustrating than having to throw a piece of, let's say for example, Arch's watercolour paper, really expensive watercolour paper. So I have to throw that away. You know, a painting that's ruined and you've used artist quality materials on it, artist quality watercolours. You know, it can start getting a little bit expensive, but this way I don't have to worry about anything like that. And to be honest with you as well, I'm probably going to get slated for this in the comments section, but I honestly think that the watercolour paper that you use is actually more important than the paints or the brushes that you use. The reason being, if you're using poor quality watercolour paint, watercolour paper, from my experience, it doesn't matter how good quality the paint is, if it doesn't react right on the paper, it's just going to always look blotchy, messy. Even when you're using wet into wet techniques, it kind of dries, sometimes hard edged, and it just doesn't look right on bad watercolour paper. But the opposite is true. If you use student quality paints on artist quality watercolour paper, you get fantastic results. So to me that says it's, you know, the paper is more important than the actual paints that you're using. I know a lot of you are going to sort of write in and say, oh, you're talking rubbish. Well, I probably am. I usually do. But it's like I say, that's just my my thoughts on it really. So yeah, fire away with your comments. So that's that. Let's move these out of the way. Incidentally, this box that I've had, I was going to replace it because, as you can see, I've cleaned it up especially for this video. Actually, I mean, it looks pretty terrible most of the time. It's got paint flaking off of it. It's got rust patches coming through, little blisters of paint coming up, and occasionally I'm getting little bits of debris in my washes. And I thought it's probably time to change this palette. I've had it that long. But I can't bring myself to do it. I absolutely love using this palette, and I thought, well, I'll see if I can buy the same one again. And I went online and I couldn't believe the price of them now. And not only that, the newer version of this, the centre column is a lot wider. So it looks like if I was to put pans along the centre bit, they're going to rattle everywhere, whereas these, they fit nice and snug, just like these, on the outer edges. So what I thought, maybe one day I might restore this, get the paint stripper on it, get all the old paint off and get some rust treatment on there, and then prime it and respray it again, or something like that. But it's one of those watercolour boxes that I'm really fond of. You know, I couldn't chuck it away. I'd probably have to restore it. I just absolutely love using this. But anyway, I won't get all sentimental on you. Let me move that out of the way. Something else I was going to show you. There we go. Move these out. And incidentally, these watercolours here, I've got a lot of different colours compared to what I actually use in my palette. I mean, I've got things like turquoise and things like that, which are, you know, sort of just use now and again. But generally I just stick to sort of 12 colours as a standard palette. I only ever use sort of 4 or 5 of them in any one painting. So also I bought one of these when they first came out, these little travel sets, Winsor & Newton Cotman set. You've probably all seen these, but I'll just show you anyway. 2 little fold out palettes, nice selection of colours in there, 12 colours, a little water bottle and a little brush there. I'll just show you that little folding brush. It sort of comes out like that. Oops, I must have put that back funny last time. I got some hair sticking out there. Never mind. And that comes out as well. You fill that up with water. It doubles up as a mixing surface, and you can pour the water in there, clip that on the end, and there's a little ring underneath there that you can put your thumb through. there's a little sponge there for cleaning your brush on. It's a nice little outdoor travel set. I've used it quite a few times. I don't use it so much these days, but that's the one I use when I go out and about painting anyway. And that's that. And last but not least, well actually it's not last, but just put this out there. I use gouache sometimes, but I don't buy artist quality. Apart from in the white, the permanent white. These are just made by Reeves. They're very, very cheap. Obviously student quality paints. But I use these just to sort of go over some of my watercolour mistakes, or try and salvage a few of my failed watercolours and things like that. So I only ever use sort of small quantities of them. But you know, useful to have. You know, they can get you out of a mess sometimes. And that one, the Winsor & Newton gouache permanent white, that's really opaque, and I use that for sort of highlighting on my watercolours and things like that, little ripples in water or little white flowers in hedgerows and things like that. That's ideal for that. And you can also obviously mix it in with, say for example you've got some little yellow flowers or something on a grass verge, you could use a little bit of yellow mixed in with that to get the right tone or colour that you want, and that'll stand out really nicely on top of your watercolour paintings. But it's, you know, not something for the watercolour purists, but you know, it's more of a mixed media approach. Yeah, and finally, not so long ago I bought what's the box it came in? White Nights by St. Petersburg paints. They're a Russian company. They're artist quality paints, and they're very, very cheap, really cheap. This set cost me £15 for 12 artist quality whole pans. Obviously I've used them a bit. I can't believe how good the quality of these is. And for £15 for 12, for a set of 12 colours, it's almost working. Well, I think it would probably work out cheaper than the Cotman watercolours. And you can buy these in tubes as well, so you can keep refilling the pans when they get empty. What I'll do, I'll have to do a painting with these for you, do a demo of it, and a bit of a review or something like that. There's the colours there. That green is absolutely gorgeous. I know a lot of people like to mix their own greens, but that one for a landscape green, a general landscape green, is just amazing. The yellow ochre is not quite so good as the Cotman range, or the cadmium red light, that's not so good either. But all the others are very, very highly pigmented. The palette stains a little bit. I don't know if that's because of the plastic or if the paints are so highly pigmented. But yeah, it's a nice little set, so I'll keep you posted on that when I do some more painting with it. So there we go. I mean, that's my palettes, my paints and my brushes, and the paper that I use, as you know, is Bockingford. I have got some Arches, I have got some Saunders, but I do like them both, but I do like Bockingford. It works for me. It's a really nice paper to use. So that's basically all my watercolour kit, so I hope that was helpful to you. Thanks very much for viewing, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.